YouTube. This is Agent Rep, and with me once again is
Journeyman Smith. We're going to go do some more Codex from the Dragon Age Veilguard. So remember, this game is rated M for maturity. Some scenes may not be appropriate for younger children.
Yep. But right now we have more Codex to read. So here we go. We're back to the world of Thedas, and we were on the Dalish Elves. The Dalish Elves. I took the road north from Valrio toward Navarra with a merchant caravan. A scant 2 days past the Elysian border, we were beset by bandits. They struck without warning from the cover of the trees, hammering our wagons with arrows, killing most of the caravan guards instantly. The few who survived the storm of arrows drew their blades and charged into the trees. Oh, yeah, into the trees after our attackers. We heard screams muffled by the forest, and then nothing more of those men. After a long silence, the bandits appeared. Elves, covered in tattoos and dressed in hides. They looted all the supplies and valuables they could carry from the merchants and disappeared back into the trees. These, I was informed later, were the Dalish, the wild elves who lurk
Will
in
in
the
the wilderness.
wilderness on the fringes of settled lands, preying upon travelers and isolated farmers. Those wild elves have reverted to the worship of their false gods and are rumored to practice their own form of magic, rejecting all human society. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Trinitary Scholar, by Brother John Tivy.
The deep roads. There isn't a dwarf alive who remembers the deep roads as they once were. They were the network of tunnels that joined the Thags together. To be honest, it isn't even
Tags.
Tags. To be honest, it isn't even right to give them such a simple term as tunnels. They are works of art with centuries of planning demonstrated in the geometry of their walls, with the statues of the paragons that watch other travelers, with the flow of lava that keeps the deep roads lit and warm. The cloud gazers up on the surface talk of the imperial highway built by the magisters of old, a raised walkway that crossed thousands of miles, something that could only have been built by magic. Perhaps it is comparable to the deep roads, although we dwarfs didn't need magic. I suppose it doesn't matter anymore. The dark spawn rule the deep roads now. When
Or,
Zeal-
Orzamar.
Orzammar
Orzamar.
sealed off the entrances to the deep roads, abandoning everything that lay out there, we handed over the kingdom that was to those black bastards forever. To think that there are Genlocks crawling over Baun Amar, now tearing down our statues and defiling our greatest works. Corruption covers everything we built out there. Every dwarf who goes out and comes back says that it gets worse with each passing year. The foulness spread a little further. And the cloud gazers think the dark spawn are gone just because they aren't spilling out onto the surface. Huh? One day, when Orzammar is gone for good, they'll find out differently. Those dark spawn won't have anywhere else to go but up, and they'll do it. The surface folk will have themselves a blight that will never end. Transcript of a conversation with a member of the Dwarven mining caste. 890 Blessed.
The Fade. The study of the Fade is as old as humankind. For so long as men have dreamed we have walked its twisting paths, sometimes catching a glimpse of the city at its heart, always as close as our thoughts, but impossibly separated from our world. The, the Treventer Imperium once spent vast fortunes of gold, lyrium, and human slaves in an effort to map the territory of the Fade, an ultimately futile endeavor. Although portions of it belonged to powerful spirits, all of the Fade is in constant flux. The Imperium succeeded in finding the des-
Disparate.
disparate and ever-shifting realms of a dozen demon lords, as well as cataloging a few hundred types of spirits before they were forced to abandon the project. The relationship of dreamers to the Fade is complex. Even when entering the Fade through the use of lyrium, mortals are not able to control or affect it. The spirits who dwell there, however, can, and as the Chantry teaches us, the great flaw of the spirits is that they have neither imagination nor ambition. They create what they see through their sleeping visitors, building elaborate copies of our cities, people, and events, which, like the reflection in a mirror, ultimately lack context or a life of their own. Even the most powerful demons merely plagiarize the worst spots and fears of mortals, and build their realm with no other ambition than to taste life. From tranquility and the role of the Fade in human culture by first enchanter
Josephus.
Josephus.
Fen-Harel, the Dread Wolf. There is precious little we know about Fen-Harel, for they say he did not care for our people. Algernon and Mithal created the world as we know it, and Drool taught us the ways of the hunter. Siles and June gave us fire and crafting, but Fen-Harel kept to himself and plotted the betrayal of all the gods. And after the destruction of Arlathan, when the gods could no longer hear our prayers, it is said that Fen-Harel spent centuries in a far corner of the earth, giggling madly and hugging himself in glee. The legends say that before the fall of Arlathan, the gods we know and revere fought an endless war with others of their kind. There is not a Haren among us who remembers these others. Only in dreams do we hear whispered the names of Gelderon and Darenthal and Aneris, for they are the forgotten ones, the gods of terror and malice, spite and pestilence. In ancient times, only Fen-Harel could walk without fear among both our gods and the forgotten ones. For although he is kin to the gods of the people, the forgotten ones knew of his cunning ways, and saw him as one of their own. And that is how Fen-Harel tricked them. Our gods saw him as a brother, and they trusted him when he said that they must keep to the heavens while he arranged a truce. And the forgotten ones trusted him also when he said he would arrange for the defeat of our gods. If only the forgotten ones would return to the abyss for a time. They trusted Fen-Harel, and they were all of them betrayed. And Fen-Harel sealed them away so they could never again walk among the people. From the tale of Fen-Harel's triumph, as told by Gishrel, keeper of the Relfarin clan of the Dalish elves.
Ferelden culture. The Fereldans are a puzzle. As a people, they are one bad day away from reverting to barbarism. They repel invasions from Tevinter during the height of the Imperium with nothing but dogs and their obstinate disposition. They are they are the coarse, willful, dirty, disorganized people who somehow gave rise to our prophet, ushered in an era of enlightenment, and toppled the greatest empire in history. There are a few things you can assume safely in dealing with these people. First, they value loyalty above all things, beyond wealth, beyond power, beyond reason. Second, although they have nothing in their entire country which you are likely to think at all remarkable, they are extremely proud of their accomplishments. Third, if you insult their dogs, they are likely to declare war. And finally, the surest sign that you have underestimated the Fereldans is that you have come to think you understand them. Emperor Selene the First of Orlais in a letter to her newly appointed ambassador to Denerim.
The Grey Wardens. The blight had ravished the land for months. The armies of the great kings amassed for one last stand. As the sun burst through the clouds that boiled and churned in the dark sky, it illuminated a vast seething horde of darkspawn with the archdemon at its head. It was then, when courage seemed to fail and all lost to death and despair, that the Grey Wardens came. They arrived with the beating of wings like mighty war drums and stood before the armies of men. The Grey Wardens, grim and fearless, marched forth ever between men and the encroaching dark spawn. They formed a shield of their own bodies and held that line until the archdemon was dead and the last dark spawn lay trampled in the dirt. Then, demanding neither reward nor recognition for their sacrifice, the Grey Wardens departed. When the clouds rolled back and the sun shone full upon the blighted ground, the great kings knew that they had lost no men, that none of their blood had been spilled. This is a tale about no battle the Grey Wardens have fought, and yet about them all they have always defended us from the Darkspawn, taking losses so we do not have to. Adaptation of a Grey Warden legend. The tale outlined above is widely told, although subject to regional variations. Free marchers might substitute great kings for titles bestowed in their given city-states. In Ferelden, the implied army of wardens is sometimes replaced with two representative of the national heroes who fought and defeated the archdemon at Denerim during the Fifth Blight. The beating of wings is a reference to the griffins the wardens are said to have ridden into battle. Although griffins went extinct long before the recent blight, they still appear in numerous stories, sometimes serving as a metaphor for the warden's unrestrained courage, but also employed to please an eager audience. From Tales of the Wardens by Sister Manon.
Wynne tells that story in Dragon Age Origins. Majestic bastards. I remember the second last one. I wouldn't get closer than 60 feet, double the wingspan. That left you time to move. The beast was too weak to do much, still seemed respectful to keep the distance, and leave its end to the animal and trainer. She starved out, not the way they should go, and not the way I was used to seeing them. Oh, they were majestic bastards, and they knew it. Ask any warden dump ass arse over ears for not picking nits. See, trainer and beast had a kinship, and both knew what they wanted. For Griffin, that bond meant grooming. Couldn't fault them. They needed that. They needed what they needed. I mean, what's a fair trade for a saddling warden commander, full plate, lightning storm, and sheer drive through an archdemon's wing? Legendary, you can't argue. But back on the ground, they knew they were owned, and you couldn't shortcut and douse them.
Mm-hmm.
They had all the majesties of a padding rat if you waterlogged the feathers. No, it was a grueling task of preening 30 bloody feet of wing. And you better remember, or maybe the thing got prissy next flight and cut an oak too close. Give you a love tap so hard your next helm dented. Still, everything in balance, every talon tipped, there was nothing that compared. You could reach down from the sky and cradle Thedas in your hand. Anyway, yes, I remember the second last one. After she dropped the robes, took some crosscuts, because they do things like that. And then we burned it, and then I got drunk. I don't not remember the very last one. and you can't make me. Comments of an unnamed Grey Warden excerpted from Wise Up, Records on the Extinction of a Treasured Species, liberated for public consideration by Philip A. Bard.
The Imperial Chantry. There are those who would tell you that the Chantry is the same everywhere as it is here, that the divine in Val Royal remains supreme in the eyes of the Maker, and that this fact is unquestioned throughout Thedas. Do not believe it. The Maker's second commandment, magic, must serve men, not rule over him, never held the same meaning within the ancient Tevinter Imperium as it did elsewhere. The Chantry there interpreted the rule as a meaning that mages should never control the minds of other men, and that otherwise their magic should befit the rulers of men as much as possible. When the clerics of Tevinter altered the chant of light to reflect this interpretation of the commandment, the divine in Val Royal ordered the clerics to revert to the original chant. They refused, claiming corruption within Val Royal, an argument that grew until in 387 Towers, the Chantry in Tevinter elected its own legitimate and uncorrupted divine Val Hale, who was not only male, but also happened to be one of the most prominent members of the Tevinter Circle of the Magi. This black divine was reviled outside Tevinter, his existence an offense to the Chantry in Val Roya. After 4 exalted marches to dislodge these rebels, all that the Chantry in Val Royal accomplished was to cement the separation. While most aspects of the Imperial Chantry's teachings are the same, prohibitions against magic have been weakened, and male priests have become more prevalent. The Circle of the Magi today rules Tevinter directly. Ever since Archon Namaran was elected in Archon Namaran was elected in 734, stormed directly from the ranks of the enchanters. To great applause from the public, he dispensed with the old rules forbidding mages from taking part in politics and within an age. The true rulers within the various imperial houses, the mages took their places openly within the government. The imperial divine is now always drawn from the ranks of the first enchanters and operates as divine and grand enchanter both. This is utter heresy to any member of the Chantry outside of Tevinter, a return to the days of the Magisters, which brought the blights down upon us. But it exists, and even though we have left the Tevinter Imperium to the mercies of the dread Qunari, still they have endured. Further confrontation between the Black Divine and our so-called White Divine is inevitable. From Edicts of the Black Divine by Father David of Canaris, 811, Blessed. We thank you for listening, and we will come back and finish the Codex another day. Please like, subscribe, give us your comments, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, tell us what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Just please keep it polite. And thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.